Rollo. I'm your host, Floridian Rollo. Good day to everybody that's on the grind, heading towards the 9 to 5, taking care of business, etc., etc. I'm going to talk about this video. This is my first time looking at it, so we're looking at it together. I will leave the content creator's link to the chat to get his full tonality. If you want to subscribe to his channel, check him out, his channel. So this particular guy talks about even a good job sucks. What's happening is that many people realize that they put 75% of their time at the 9 to 5 that they're not interested in. And it's becoming a trend to the point that a lot of companies is trying to figure out what's going on. Why is people don't want to work? It's that people don't want to work. It's that people don't see the value in themselves of why they're working. They just don't want to get by no more. These people don't want to get by no more. It's like they're looking at the way things are now. They're like, yo, is it worth going to this 9 to 5? The way things are going, I'm not seeing money for myself. I'm not seeing money that I could do something with my children. I'm not seeing money that I could do something with my wife. So a lot of men is going in a different route. Some of the ladies are too. So let's hear what this guy have to say. Let's get to it.
In this video, we're going to be talking about where all the good jobs went. That's what everybody wants to know. How come it was that there was a time in which that this country had good working class jobs where you could go and get a 9 to 5, job out there, didn't take a whole lot of education, just took some basic skills and understanding and was able to acquire enough money to provide for a household, family, cars, vacation, get married, do all the stuff that you would normally do or think about doing. And this was all done off of just a regular 9 to 5 job.
You know what it is? A lot of these companies is in fear of doing right by the people. A lot of these companies don't care for your well-being. They just want you to make sure they good and you kind of good. Let me say that again. Majority of these companies are in fear of doing the right thing by the people that's serving them to make them to be where they at. So what's happening is that they don't care for your well-being. And what we finding now is most Americans, they stress and fear comes from work. And it's so prominent that they bring it to the household for the most part. I'm going to show you an exact video of that. It's a guy that is married. He has a child, and his woman has been getting on him. They put it out on YouTube, so I don't want to hear anything from anybody. It's out on YouTube. And so this is not a laughing matter. People's lives, people have responsibilities, whether you have a family or not. And the way this deterioration is going, these demons running the whole operation of society, they're in fear of seeing people doing good. So that's going to lead to a lot of situations to see in the future. Let's hear what he has to say.
But today, that doesn't even seem in the realms of possibility. Like to have a regular job, a regular 9 to 5 W-2 job, single income, and raise a household. I mean, is that even possible today? I don't think it really is. And when you think about some of the things that are taking place right now, especially when you consider the good manufacturing jobs, I don't even know if a good manufacturing job would even cut it. Like, is there a good manufacturing job out there that provides enough income for a household? Or is it just like having a regular job, like working at the restaurants or bartending or doing something of that nature? Like,
it was once upon a time, if you was a bartender or you work at the restaurants, you do pretty good. Now, I will say they do pretty good in the South, particularly Florida, Texas. It's seen a fluctuation of tips. decent salary, yet they rely on people tipping them for the service. So the servicer gets money, you got the waiter, the waitress get money, because a lot of people are more flexible in the South what they spend. In the North, they become more selfish, so to say. Even the ones that's doing pretty good for themselves, they have become selfish. I've seen a lot of people, in a valet service where they will be driving these nice cars, or they may have rent them. Either way, they won't even tip somebody that may need the money will tip, because they know that it's the right thing to do. They're doing it from the heart, even though they don't have to. You would think people that got it going on will be the best tippers. In most cases, they're not. They are very, very distant of spending money, So, hey, a lot of people is waking up from these companies, man. That's why a lot of people is moving to the South, because even though it may not have the benefits like the North states, like the Ibarasi states, people is not even thinking about that. They thinking about how can they save $1 during the times we in. And that's a smart thing to do. The only thing with that is things are going up in Florida. Things are going up in North Carolina. Things are going up in Georgia. Things are going up in the South because people is bringing their Ibarasi ways. And so a lot of the Southerners are rising up, which we will get into another video with that down the road. Let's continue.
There was a time when you could go work manufacturing and have a really fairly decent income from it. Like, it was better than what you would get, say, in the service industry, or just, some other kind of simpler job. By manufacturing or working in a manufacturing industry, you would have an income that would be fairly decent. Well, that's when you were a manufacturing powerhouse. See, when you're a manufacturing powerhouse who is building the best stuff in the world, well, then your labor is worth a lot.
If you've ever dreamed of owning an apartment complex and you live near one of these cities, then you've got to see the same ad that I saw.
Are you seeing how desperate New York is becoming? Look how desperate New York is becoming. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. They desperate now. They desperate. Because people will continue to exodus out this place. Let's continue. Let me skip the advertising. Let's continue.
But now, if your labor is competing against labor out there in the globe, well, you think about it. Like, think about your position. Like, whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't really matter, right? I mean, maybe it does matter to some people who might have a very unique, isolated type of profession. But think about some of the places around the globe that your job would pay. Like, some places it might pay a whole lot, right? But probably most places that you find around the globe wouldn't pay as much as you earn here in the United States. That's why people come here, right? It's because you can earn the most money. Now, when you think about that, if you were to take an average of your job, like the average wage from around the globe, you probably here in the United States earn a lot more than you would earn, say, average global competitor. Well, that's you competing against the other wages out there. See, people say, well, no, we deserve it here in the United States to have a decent wage for working these manufacturing jobs. Well, sure, right? I mean, you deserve it, but is that going to be the likely outcome when you're competing against people out there who are going to do the same thing for a hell of a lot less? Right? See, people say it was just...
People in particular love to complain and not do something about it. That's just what it is. If the Americans want to do something about it, y'all know the solution. Take a day off. That'll get their attention. Everybody take a day off, that will get their attention. And they know that. They know that. That's why they're trying to bring these people in and pay them pennies on the dollar. And now you have to deal with the consequences because it's coming out your pocket. It's coming out my pocket. We're not getting what we're supposed to get. And so because of that, there's an in-house going on. Because think about it, these people is coming, they're getting $17,000, $20,000 taxes, and they only been here for 6 months. You've been here most of your life. So I do believe that the entities are using these people, propping them up, making them think that everything's good here, and then they're going to disperse them too eventually. It's all scripture, y'all. It's all scripture. You know, America has allowed just anybody in, pushing the fear on the internet, pushing the fear through the world, and now it has issues, particularly Esau, the main competitors of it. Let's go.
It's like even Mike Rowe, right? I left an article down there. He was, talking about like, hey, where are all these blue collar workers, right? We need these people who know how to do, electrical and plumbing and all this other stuff out there. Well, why would people go and work hard to try and acquire those knowledge to get in that profession if it doesn't pay enough of them to do any good? Right? Like, I mean, you go and you work hard, like, you think about it. It's like my grandfather was a plumber, my old man was a plumber, I'm going to be a plumber, I go to be a plumber, it doesn't really pay that well. Right? I mean, it was just like whether I'm a plumber or a bartender, I mean, yeah, maybe a plumber makes a little bit more, I mean, actually, plumbers would make quite a bit more. But the competitiveness of it, when you get into certain areas, you're going to find that not only is being a plumber a very well-paying position, but it also, because of how much it pays, means that you don't always find a work out there. All right? Like, sometimes when the construction industry slows dramatically down, you're not having, like, okay, this is the reason why it ends up going down. So let me kind of back it up. Because
basically, it's a half and half season. Half you do your work, half you don't do work. So you have to figure out what other skill sets you have. So basically, it's 2 seasons to do plumbing and 2 seasons of the year that you're not going to have anything going plumbing. They're going to have other people. So they select for you for 6 months, they select the other folks for 6 months. What are you going to do the other 6 months? You got to have other skill sets. Let's continue.
I was getting a little ahead of myself. If you are an established business, right, let's say for a plumber example, and you have a bunch of plumbers in town who are working, this is making up a number, $100 an hour, right? And their business is basically, that's what they're paying, that's what they get out there, $100 an hour. But that business slows down, right? Now you're competing against all the rest of the people out there. What ends up happening, right? You have to lower your wages in order to acquire the job. Even worse, what if you come into a situation in which that you have people coming in saying, yeah, I know you're charging $100 an hour, but I'm going to charge $65, and I'm going to take all your business from you.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do, man. A lot of places do that, and it's unfortunate, And the thing with people is they'll take the lesser of the situation because they think that having that will help them. No, it don't. You're not going to get the best service. Let me say something. You want the best service when it comes to business, you pay the people that they need to be paid. You want to keep the good people around, pay them what they deserve to be paid, especially if they commit in making you doing good. You could do them a favor here and there, and they'll be committed. Hey, it's changing, y'all. It's changing. It's like a lot of men are walking away from these 9-to-5s right now. A lot of these places, it's like where the men at. The men are, doing a lot of deliveries. If they're not doing deliveries, they're online taking care of business. That's what it's coming down to. Nobody wants to be waiting for a check every week or every 2 weeks, and it's only 90% of it is going to something else, and 10% is what you're trying to save. Man, that's difficult. That's difficult, especially if you're in the North. Forget about it.
Well, if you're charging $100 an hour because that's what you need because of the debts that you have taken out in order to have the equipment, the buildings, operate the business, you're operating in debt. You have to make a minimum of $100 an hour in order to facilitate your debt.
Right.
And now you're competing against people who are coming in at a much lower bid. Right? And this is what ends up happening in slowdowns in the economy. So I don't know how I went off on that thing, but anyway, just one of the other examples of what ends up happening when you have a slowdown within the economy, but just the manufacturing jobs within themselves, I guess is really what the topic of the video is. We'll get back on that. When you think about the manufacturing of construction of homes, like this is probably the number one most manufactured product in the United States is buildings, right? Whether it's a residential home or a high rise or some institutional facility like a hospital or a school or something.
That's what. Hold on. Let me mute this. That's where most of the money is at. That's where most of the money at. That's what most of the money at. If you think about it, building high-rise building, reconstructing apartments, you can make a good, decent amount for that 2 seasons. In most cases, it might be 2 years, depending on how long the project is. It could be anywhere from 6 months to 2 to 3 years or a decade. However, man, them taxes be kicking in, man. So even when you do your IRS, you don't get that much back. So yeah, man, a lot of people are just looking at the situation like, is it worth it? Is it really worth going out there, handling business like you're supposed to when they taking more from you at the end of the year? And it's going to people that's not even from here, and they doing that on purpose. The demons is doing that on purpose because they want to all outrage. The people are just like, they're not falling for it. And so they're trying to find out other schemes to get the people to start going at each other. Like Hunger Games. Let's continue.
Manufacturing job out there. And you have people who are less desired to move into that position. Why? You would think that if it was paying enough or paying adequately, then you would have a desire of people who would want to be in that position. But if it doesn't pay enough, or it doesn't pay adequately comparatively to what it is that you can do in some other form of income, like say tending bar and then going and doing some kind of other DoorDash or affiliate sales on internet.
I tell you right now, DoorDash is doing real good in Florida. DoorDash is doing real good in Florida. I was listening to this Dasher, because you had the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he was in a particular part of Florida, and man, he was doing like a good. It was other football games, of course. You got the college thing going on. Man, you have no clue, man. Dashing, people sleep on it. Uber Eats or Lyft, or I prefer Lyft than Uber when it comes to picking up passengers. They doing pretty good, man. Matter of fact, Florida is doing so good right now that I know it's a lot of changes when I get back there. I know it's a lot more changes happening down there. It's like, it's unbelievable, man, how much a year, and I'm seeing a lot of changes at particular areas that I was at. I'm like, wow. And so what's happening is that the companies in the North States don't know how to listen to their workers. They thinking that their workers is okay with what they're making. And so a lot of people are leaving even the high-paying jobs. They're leaving the high-paying jobs too. They're leaving the 6-figure jobs because they realize that they're not watching out for their health. You giving yourself to people that don't care about you, don't care about your well-being, and you putting yourself at risk if you're not careful. Now, these other countries always allow their people off time. They may not make the money we make. The reason why they're not as stressed out as we are for the most part is because they're more outdoors. There's a lot, like when you look at certain countries, you working indoor 12 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. Yeah, you're going in that cubicle. If you're not careful, yeah, you're going to be stressed out being in that office. You need to get out, get out sometimes, So that's why I love 9 to 5 places that is outside. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people will say, well, why you want to be outside? Because it's a lot more to do. I don't want to be in the building all day. You know what I'm saying? And it drains you. It drains you. It really drains you. That's why I got to get back to Florida ASAP, because I was listening to the game and they was talking about 90 degrees. You think I want to be in this 60-degree weather? This 50-degree weather? Heck no, man. Heck no, man. I don't want to be in this cold, miserable weather. Let's continue.
Or doing something of that nature, bringing in a side income. Why would people want to go and do the bust-assing, hard-working, knuckle-breaking work of manufacturing and construction when you can essentially skirt by without having to do that hard work? Like most people, when they're in family formation, have it in their head, they're locked in. I am going to work hard, get this thing done. That's a driving force. Now, if it's a work, if it's a profession or a job that can provide you with the things it is that you need.
For those who have a family, make better adjustments, because they want, see what's happening now, right? To the men, ladies that is married to your man. What's happening is the men are realizing that they need to balance their life. And so the ones who are intelligent enough to believe and have faith in what they're doing, especially with the Most High involved, they doing real good. They're not really concerned. A lot of these companies is putting fear in people now. They wasn't doing that back in the days. Companies was not doing that. They actually appreciate you coming in, because they know that it's hard to get people. Now they don't care. For the most part, they don't care if you walk away. They don't care if you walk away. In their mind, they're going to have somebody else do the work and still get the same pay. So by you leaving, the other person that's there who has an assignment now doing your assignment, and now they leave, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So they don't care like they used to. They on to other stuff. You already know what that is. Go watch the movie They Live. Let's continue.
Provide for a family, then people are going to do it, right? They're going to run, especially men, right? And that's what men do. They build family formations. That's what it is that, you think about it.
That's true.
It's working hard to provide for a family.
Right.
That's working hard to provide for more than just one person.
That's right. That's true.
If that job can only provide for him, then what good is it? Right? Like, why does he bust his knuckles? Why does he do all this stuff? He was doing it because he was trying to form a family. Otherwise, he would just do as much as it takes to get by.
Yep.
Construction job is just enough to get by. Man, why do it? Right? It's too hard to work. It's busting your ass for no real reward other than that of having a regular job that gets you, that maintains your life. So this is the real reason why it's coming down the way it is, and why we have a lack of formation, and why those jobs are not only lacking in skilled people, is because it doesn't do it for them anymore. Right? There was a time when it did. Now we think about why doesn't it do it for them anymore, and it's literally because of the move into luxuries. This is something that we have talked about so many times on the street.
That's the crazy part. He say that. That's many people that built those skyscrapers that can't even live in them. You would think that they would give those guys a voucher to live in those places. In most countries, the people that built certain places, they get a voucher to stay there because they put their life on the line to provide services for the people. And so in these buildings, you should give it to these people. Give them a place to stay. I think that's the right thing to do. What were you in fear of? They built your castle for your family, for future generations. So the least you could do is say, hey, this is a place for you. You think if I was doing security in the building, I should stay in that. I should not have to go 2-3 hours to come to your building. I should stay in that building. Let me have an apartment, even if I have some other place to stay. I believe that's the right thing to do. From what I'm hearing, Florida is talking about doing that. I don't know how true that is. That's the speculation. And I'm also hearing North Carolina is also in the line of doing that. Yeah, because if you're working for a certain building, you know, you being a representative of the company, man, come on, man, let that person stay there. You don't have to charge them that much because they'll put in a little bit more hours. But you want them to do 12 hours and they gotta drive 2 hours to get home. Man, nobody's doing that no more. Them days are over. It has to be a reason. If the money is right and they love what they're doing, take care of them, man, because there's not too many people like that these days, man. People are walking away from the BS, even if it's 100,000 or more a year. Because it's not the money, it's people's health. People are looking at their health. People are realizing, is it worth the stress? Is it worth the anxieties? They don't want to have anxieties. They don't want to have stress. They don't want to have fear. They just want to just do their thing properly and keep it moving. Man, companies going to be begging soon. Many companies going to be begging soon. Because they're going to realize now it's affecting their pockets. Let's continue.
Down. See, that move into luxuries is what drove the wedge between the rich and the poor. It's what drives out the domestic manufacturing and brings in ever-increasing amounts of foreign production.
Yeah.
And once you recognize it, once you see it for what it is, then you don't have to cast blame. You don't have to wonder, why is this taking place? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Somebody should do something about it. Well, the problem was literally decades ago, if not a century. Excuse me. And that the idea that we were producing the world's greatest stuff and exporting that stuff, getting it out there to the world, and the world was sending us their gold. And we were enjoying that, increasing our standard of living. The regular, average, everyday job was enough to produce for the family formation.
Right.
It totally was working. And everybody enjoyed this higher standard of living. And we started bringing in the foreign production. And that started driving out the domestic manufacturers.
Yep.
We moved into luxuries. We liked that standard of living. We wanted to keep.
Yeah, he's right about that. He's right. He's not lying. Let's continue.
And the day that it was time to relinquish that gold back out there to the rest of the world and fall into hard times of poverty ourselves, we severed ourselves from the gold standard and went into fiat currency, debt-based, 100% world reserve currency on the idea of confidence and promises. And it allowed the new money to continue to flow in. We got ever-increasing amounts of inequality between the rich and the poor, and those regular, hard-working, domestic manufacturing jobs that would do
You know what? He's right, because when the thing was let off, the petrodollar, we just like the third world country. America became a third world country from that day on. Once the gold or silver was off the dollar, we are no different than the other countries. He's right about that. That makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, when our parents was coming up, they was making $4 or $5 an hour. Yeah, they was making $4 or $5. Now, if they was working for the city, they was making $15 or $20 an hour. And at that time, everything was good because, like he stated, things were back. We had something backed by the dollar. We don't have anything backed by the dollar. And because we don't have anything backed by this dollar, anybody could do what they want to do with it. And now we're starting to see it fully happening to it, as now these other entities are, involved, and they want it to be a certain way. And they in the fear content, the fear companies are trying to push this agenda on the ones who's woke, the weak. The tares have been taking over a lot of the industries, and they trying to suck the life energy out of those who are the weak. So we got to stay strong, y'all. We got to stay strong. All right, let's continue.
Wonderful job of providing enough for family formation fail to exist.
Wow.
Choice Hotels is the family of brands with a hotel for...
Man, he's really going in. Let's continue.
Dude, if a guy isn't going to form a family, then why bust his knuckles? He can just do enough to survive. That's all he needs to do.
Yeah, they don't want you to provide for your family. That's why they're trying to figure out ways for you not to have children. You know what I'm saying? Because they're pushing this fear with the money right now. They are. They definitely are. There's no doubt about it. He's right.
Because forming a family means that you have to not only acquire enough of abundance for yourself, but then to also acquire enough of an abundance for other people.
Right.
And an individual working a good, hard-working manufacturing job doesn't do it.
Uh-oh.
And no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to compete. Your job, even a domestic manufacturing job here, even though it's a domestic product, right? 100% American made, located, not going anywhere. It's a house, right? It stays here. Well, you think about it, your labor doesn't compete against other labor out there, even when it comes to a domestic manufactured product. Like,
wow.
And eventually you can get to a point where it's so expensive here, so much new money has driven such a wedge between the rich and the poor, that the only way to acquire a house is to literally have some foreigner produce it and ship it here. That's what it can literally get to.
Man, oh man, oh man. Man. Hey. We can't defute that. Most of the stuff we get come from other countries. We're not importing no more. We're not shipping stuff no more. They're sending products to us of their rate and charge.
Scary, right?
And you have to pay the taxes of it. Let's continue.
There's never been a time in history that they allowed a system of such debt to exist to the level that it has.
Wow.
The United States is the biggest debtor in the history of time.
United States is the biggest debtor in history of time. There's no denying in that. Let's continue.
Right. How long can it go on for? Who knows? If you were to ask me 10, 15 years ago, I would have said it would have been over by now. But yet, here it continues on. And if you think about it, if you go into a digital currency, negative interest rates, they could continue this game on for a much longer time than anybody would have ever imagined.
Wow.
Much longer than even now, which is more than people would have imagined. All right, let's leave it at that. Let's go through some questions. I hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of a rant. And
all right, so we ended his rant because I wanted to hear his rant. He says it's a rant, so we're gonna say it's a rant. So the channel is called Uneducational Economics or Economics. That's his channel. He has 144,000 subscribers. This video was live streamed 2 months ago. He got 86,000 views. So, hey, that's a channel, y'all. Uneducated Economics. Hey, so I'm going to get on out of here. I'll be back with y'all later on. Peace.